Right. Well, the fun part is, well, let me get to the second question first. The second question is, what are you tolerating? What do you have in your life that you don't want? And that could be hundreds of things, right? I don't like the doorknob on my door, right? I don't like my toothpaste anymore, that sort of thing. My shampoo drives me nuts. To really big things, right? So those are the two questions I start with, and I watch what goes on inside someone, to get back to your question. I watch how well they're willing to move through those things. Some people don't think about, the fun part is, I've had some people think absolutely in one type of question and they don't even want to touch the other one. Or they're really good with the negative, the tolerations, but they have a really hard time with their aspirations. So that tells me a great deal about who they are and what they want. But if I work from their motivations to where they want to be and make the bridge from where they are to where they want to, what they want to accomplish and how they picture that, then what I'm able to do is to have them start realizing the tool set they've got inside them that works for them and the tool set that they have inside them that doesn't.
That tool set inside of us that doesn't work, to me feels like it started when we were very, very young, and it interferes with self-discovery and finding our identity within ourselves. And then luckily, if we're very, very lucky, someone like you comes along and says, let me help you find your identity.
Yeah.
Let me help you define this just a little bit more. And then don't be so afraid. We can put it under the microscope and we can really look at it and you get choice.
So what if all the really horrible things that happen to us in our life and the things that we learn that we get to blame our parents for as we go through a certain phase, right?
Phase.
Yeah. What if all of those are really the gifts that we are supposed to have in a life so that we're here to learn a better set of skills? If my goal in this life is to get to the place where I'm more self-aware, what a great way to start out as an incredibly shy Midwestern boy. That way I'm aware of everything that everybody says all the way around me, right? And then I take that skill and I apply the analysis from the chemistry that my dad taught me and how to get functional about things and structured, thank God. And then I can solve problems as I go. And every one of the things that I got to blame my mom for and my dad for earlier in my life, I look at as gifts so that I've learned strength skills as a result of each one of those little gaps in myself. And the gift only comes when you commit yourself to unlearning that as a set of skills and relearning the opposite. So let's say I'm really good at anger, or let's really good at doubt. The opposites of those aren't joyousness. The opposites of those are self-belief, because what happens in anger is I give someone else the responsibility for one particular aspect of my life, and then when they don't do what I contracted them into doing, they didn't even contract into doing it. When I finally understand that as something that I've given away, giving that responsibility back to myself dissolves my capability of being angry with someone else.
Right.
So unlearning all of those little opportunities at the front that we plug into place, I think, as part of the plan at the front end of our life to unwind and cause us issues the rest of our life, only show up at our learning place when we're ready for it.
You know, I have a brilliant idea. How about if I clone you and I put you in every college in this country, every grade school that's in 6th, 7th, 8th graders, starting at that age, put you in where there is a deep need to have, you know, a toolbox of consciousness and choices that is going to empower the human being. You know, I have a lot of people that come into my life through my practice, and I am amazed at how many tools they have not been taught, they don't even know how important not to have those tools would be to their life. Just about the time, many times when I feel like I'm just on the edge of breaking them through, for some reason, they drop the toolbox and they flip back into their old behaviors.
When they flip back into their old behaviors, do you notice that it's a little softer and not quite as violent?
Yes.
Okay, so what they've done is they've gone back, they've regressed so that they can confirm their self-relationship. And they go back to the last place they felt comfortable and familiar.
Yes.
And then they go back to the tool set. I found, let's say when I went through my divorce, all of a sudden I felt like a 9-year-old. And I realized in the time that I was going through that period of time, I was 9 years old because that was the last time I felt fully integrated in myself and fully loved in myself. And so I worked my way. I watched myself grow. I'd go out of that. I'd be the 40 I was going through the, actually 39, going through the divorce and then back into the 9-year-old. And then the next time I came back, I was 10. And the next time I was like 12 or 13. And I watched myself cycle from being my current age back into the regression. And what I was doing with each cycle was I was strengthening my self-relationship and strengthening my understanding of the world. And I was growing that 9-year-old up to be the 39-year-old. And it took me about a year, year and a half.
But you know, Brad, that is very unique.
It's just what I did, you know.
But that's what's so unique and wonderful about you is that you have a consciousness that's able to ask yourself the right questions, and then in this life education that you've had so far, you're so brilliant in how you've articulated it into being able to teach it to other people, especially, you know, people who are in power. I think we definitely need to have this type of education in Harvard and in Yale and all these power bases that are developing people that have had the same mentality for the since the industrial age, that basically is going into the corporate structure and having that sense of entitlement, where your program would help them develop who they are as a human being, uniquely who they are, to be accountable and responsible to bringing that gift out into the world and making a difference. Because to me, you give me your definition of leadership. I'd love to hear this one.
Yeah, leadership is the ability to create a vision, to articulate it well, and to articulate it in such a way that the people that are listening understand it, can fully grasp it, get the same vision, and then commit to, from their own heart, engaging in it. We call it inspiration. So you do that well enough, what you've done is you've unleashed an energy in the group of people that are following you that's greater than you can do, and then you have all of that energy that they didn't even have before you inspired them, all of their energy to move forward with. So you've aligned all the efforts, you've added energy, and when you have a CEO or a political leader who inspires people to a common vision, you get energy to accomplish. And when you re-engage, then the management piece steps in, and you re-engage people on a regular basis in redefining that vision so that it gets closer and closer to the, like the optimum level in what it needs to be. Then what you have is you have something that gets accomplished. So leadership is about inspiring and then tuning. What America is doing, right, what America is doing right now is fine-tuning our vision of what democracy is.
We certainly are fine-tuning.
Yeah.
Yes.